Hey everyone, Cynthia here, and here I am having a catch up with Kathryn Read, who is one of our senior advisors sitting in Europe. Kathryn is in Austria at the moment. Kathryn, we're in the middle of an energy crisis. Europe is now telling people to fly less, drive less, and stay home. You've just put out a post talking about flying more, and I'm sitting down here in Sydney thinking, how is this going to work if you're going to build an international business? That advice from the Europeans is going to kill you. Can I get you to react to that?
It's really ironic, right? That a day after I said, please all go and visit your distributors. So I would say my initial reaction is that you can actually have both, and that in many cases, it's going to be a case of prioritization. And
Yeah.
I know that this has been spoken about like some kind of COVID moment. But honestly speaking, this is not the same. We're not being locked up in our homes. We're just being asked to, you know, drive more carefully, drive a bit slower. It is not the same thing. And I do very much think that the case for in-person meetings doesn't disappear, but the case for radically, ruthlessly prioritizing which meetings have to take place gets even stronger because, lots of Europeans will fly very quickly. Frankfurt, Milan,
Yeah.
somewhere, even just for the day, because you can get a morning flight and come home in the evening. So maybe those kind of meetings will disappear a bit more. On the other hand, lots of companies are still suffering from the fact that they didn't visit their overseas clients like Asia, Australia, New Zealand for so long during COVID. And they're still struggling to really regain that momentum. So, of
Yeah.
course, they've got to think about what they're going to do there.
I mean, to me, this feels a bit sitting down in Australia, it's different, right? So there are only a few major cities you can fly to, and every single flight is over an hour. Some of the flights are up to 4 hours. And to get out of Australia, we're apart from New Zealand or Noumea, we're looking at a 7 to 8 hour flight. So for us, if we were to fly less, this really feels like COVID logic all over again to me without the masks, right? Just applied to trade. And I'm not really sure that it works. I mean, do you think we need to keep flying to actually keep this going? Because I feel like down here in Australia, you have to keep if you want to see people, if you don't want to just do it on Zoom or Teams, you kind of have to get in a plane and go somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think that there's only so much that you can do over Zoom or over Teams. It's all very well for relationships that are strong right now to keep them ticking over and to talk about operative problems, but you're starting to lose that connection to what's actually going on the shelf or on the ground in the markets as soon
Yeah.
as you stop visiting them. And the number of clients I've spoken to the last couple of years who've literally said, oh, since COVID, we slashed our travel budgets and now we're stagnating in Asian markets. European customers are saying we're stagnating in Asian markets, and it's because they're only visiting once per year, and the
Yeah.
client just thinks, well, we're not important anymore.
Yeah. You don't care about us. And also, they don't know
Yeah,
what's going on because they're only
yeah.
seeing it through a screen, right? So, I mean, what do
Yeah.
you think if businesses follow this advice and stop traveling? What's going to break first? I mean, who's going to get hurt most? Is it SMEs that get hurt most, or is it big corporates? And what's the first thing that goes? Is it trust, or is it visibility of the shelf?
I think the, I mean, the big companies, they generally will survive. It's going to be the SMEs who really struggle because they're the ones whose margins are under pressure anyway,
Yeah.
with all of the rest of the margin pressure that's going on with oil price rises and potentially the implications that has, especially in the food and beverage industry, where we're looking at fertilizer, where we're looking at raw material price increases. Um, I think the first obvious symptom will be that you're losing that feeling of how the shelf looks and how the market mechanics are working. But I think that trust will be the root problem that people are actually struggling with.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it will affect distributor performance as well?
I mean, a lot of those Asian markets are already under pressure. I mean, as you know, the Philippines have already got a lot of stay-at-home measures in place. People are starting to cut journeys. Lots of Asian governments already implemented measures to start saving fuel and to start, implementing some kind of constraints on people to try and conserve their, conserve their stores of fuel.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm going to be in Vietnam in a few days' time, and I am starting to wonder how it's actually going to look, right? So I might be reporting live from the ground to tell you about what's still working or not working so well.
I mean, honestly, at the moment, I can't imagine that it's going to look so radical, but I think it's one of those things that step by step, that people might just slide into it, a little bit like the frog in the boiling water, that in the beginning, you don't really realize that trust is being eroded. You don't really notice that your relationships are getting worse, or that you don't really have that strong, innate knowledge about what's happening in the market,
Yeah.
until suddenly one day you wake up and you just realize that things are not the same anymore. And that,
Yeah.
you know,
You kind of lost
then
it.
it's hard to get it back.
Yeah. And I think if you stop showing up in market, somebody else is going to go, right?
Yes. And I mean, let's face it, there's always that thing of the time of crisis is not the time to cut, for example, your marketing budgets. It's the time to double down on things and to make
100%.
sure that you can maintain your momentum. And I really believe that, whilst I wouldn't encourage people to fly unnecessarily just for 2 hours across a continent, then to make an in-depth market visit, it is still definitely worth flying for. Also for the relationship benefits that brings you. Let's face it, most people are not flying so much for like that 1 hour meeting that they did in the past. I mean, I know guys in the past who flew for a 1 hour meeting from the UK to Australia, yeah, and then got on a plane all the way back.
That's
But
nuts.
that's really nuts, yeah. But those are the kind of flights that people shouldn't be doing, in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I think post COVID, that's probably right, because people have realized actually there is a level of stuff that can be done virtually, but there are some things that can't be. I mean, you said something this week that really stuck with me in your LinkedIn post. Um, you said that market visits aren't just travel, they change how you see the visit. I mean, what did you mean there?
What I mean is that it's often, I experienced this a lot in the past, that I can tell somebody till I am blue in the face that Vietnam, for example, is like this, it's like that. The client needs this, the distributor needs that. But until somebody actually stands there in the market and really feels it and feels that dynamism and notices, why is it a problem to do last mile logistics in the old town of Hanoi? Or why does it take so long to do certain tasks in Ho Chi Minh? Why is it hard to get new salespeople who are really reliable in certain provinces? If you've never been there and you've never felt it and seen it on the ground,
You
then
just
you
don't
just
know.
can't. You just can't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, I think I definitely agree with that. Um, I mean, to play devil's advocate for a second, governments are saying, energy constraints are real. And we know that. I mean, down here in Australia, we started with 38 days supply of oil, and that was about 10 days ago. So in a couple of weeks, we are going to be out of many types of fuel. And
Hmm.
everybody is starting to guess about what happens at that point. So that's a giant problem. And the cost pressures are real, because obviously, if there's no oil, we don't manufacture that much down here, but even what we do manufacture becomes constrained. And yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Some travel is wasteful. So government is not 100% wrong. And there is a category of travel that probably should disappear. So, I mean, what if you had to pick out what people shouldn't do anymore? What would it be?
That's hard to, that's really hard to recommend, honestly speaking, because I think it comes down, it's so individual, isn't it? I mean, and it's also that thing of, are we talking about business here, or are we talking about what people should do on their personal level? I mean, from a personal perspective, it kind of grinds my gears when I see people. We have a supermarket 5 minutes up the road, and I see people driving there literally for like a liter of milk when it is 5 minutes walk. It's not
Yeah,
5 minutes drive, it's 5 minutes walk. It takes me as long probably to get in the car and drive there as it does to just go out the door and walk.
that's the same as our shops down here. So yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta walk.
I mean, if it's and so I think that, people, of course, your first line of thought should be, can this be a Zoom meeting? Or, realistically speaking, in lots of cases, can this simply be an email that I deal with asynchronously with my partners overseas, that I send something now, they think about it and reply when they've got time? Because let's be real, lots of meetings even are not necessary anyway. And I
Totally.
think that people should really rethink how they do things, and that that is the point where you have to that is the point where you have to be very ruthless in your prioritization as
Yeah.
to which markets are the biggest markets, which markets are really the markets you have to visit. If I'm sitting in Austria, I don't have to visit Germany every month, even if it's my biggest market, because it's much closer to Austria than, for example, Korea or the Chinese market from a
Yeah.
cultural perspective. There are different levels of that. And I think everybody has to decide for themselves what is going to be the right way forward. And of course, it's going to be a cost factor at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Flights
What
are
are we budgeting
expensive.
for?
Diesel is at, I think, €2.20 a litre.
So you realize fuel in Europe is still double the cost of fuel in Australia. So our most expensive fuel is about $2.73 a litre for unleaded premium fuel.
That's not the premium. The premium one is two. The premium diesel, which is the most expensive, is 270, something
Yeah.
like that.
So our
I'm
fuel
not
down here
sure.
is still way cheaper than yours, even in
Yeah,
a crisis time.
yeah. And remember, in Austria, there's probably still about 60% of the car market is diesel.
Is that right? Wow, that's huge compared to us.
Yeah,
So, I mean, the way I see this, we're going to have winners and losers out of this whole travel, don't travel arrangement, right? Because it may come to the point where we actually can't travel, where even
yeah,
if we don't want to stay home, we have to stay home because there just is no more fuel. And unless you own a horse and a buggy, then you're not going anywhere. And I feel that, what is probably going to happen during this period is that our winners will be people who are very disciplined operators who have thought through this ahead of time, people who have been intentionally building the market for some time, in which case it won't
absolutely.
matter if they can't immediately jump on a plane. And also
Yeah,
people who show up when others don't. So people who can make that trip when it really matters out to a market and, pay the extortionate airfare price because it really matters when they're there. And
yeah.
they recognize
And
that. And the losers in that case would be people who are passive, who are like, we're just exporting on autopilot, people who have kind of set and forget international strategies, who talk to the distributor once a year and then get surprised when it blows up in their face.
yeah,
And people who are just totally reliant on Zoom relationships and don't do anything else. I mean, can I get you to react to that?
yeah. I mean, I agree. And I think that those people who've done their homework from the beginning and laid the foundations and made sure that they've got some cash runway, um, it's the same as for any kind of business dealing, really, isn't it? If you've done your planning, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stick to that plan, but it does mean that you're in a better place when any kind of crisis hits,
Yeah.
because you've got cash reserves, you've got resource reserves, and you've got the mental bandwidth to say, okay, this is what is the priority for our business right now.
Mm,
That might be something in international. For other companies, it may well be something in their domestic policy, but you can make the decision on the ground in the moment and be very disciplined about it, and not just think, put my head in the sand and I'll deal with it when it's an emergency, because that is going to be the worst way forward.
totally. So, I mean, for me, this is really about if energy constraints make travel harder in the short to medium term, the real question here is it's not should you travel less, it's are you being deliberate enough about the trips that you take?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that lots of European companies do that already, partly because we have that option of moving from plane to train, which is different to Australia.
Totally different. You have way better trains than we do. Unfortunate, but true. Folks, we're going to leave it there for today. If you want to follow Kathryn or I, you can find us both on LinkedIn. It's Kathryn Read, Read, Cynthia Deerin, Dearin. You can also check out our YouTube channel, which is Deerin Associates on YouTube. We will be commenting on this energy crisis from time to time as things unfold. Kathryn, have a great Wednesday.
Thank you. Have a good evening.